Today's video is a bit more of a casual one, but I think it's going to be super fun. And of course, before anything, I honestly just had to clean my desk. It's gotten to the point where there's stuff stuck on it, but I guess I had it coming. So, like the title said, I'm going to try bookbinding, and supposedly the first step is massacring some paper or an old sketch. This one's pretty old, but does have some blank pages, and the paper is pretty good quality, so we're going to go with this one. I began by ripping out a few pages, already using the dotted lines on there. Folding along the lines a few times made it pretty easy to get a nice rip. Some of these pages have weird sketches on them, but they're still usable. This page is a bit dirty, but I think it's fine. A lot of the stuff in this sketchbook is super old, and you can see how my style's kind of changed over the years. What is this? This video is not a tutorial by any means, it's honestly just me trying to figure this out. I'll leave the tutorial I used down below. I think I have just about enough paper. So now for the next step. There's an unsightly bit in the frame in this portion, so I just use like a frog sticker to cover it up. I fold each page in half, which is fairly easy. I just take extra care to make sure it's really precise. I'm glad the pages aren't too neat, because then I won't feel bad about using them. Next, I'm going to put the pages in small groups to make signatures. I think I'll do groups of 3 because I have 18 pages, which is divisible by 3, so I'll use up all the pages. I finished that, and it's looking pretty nice. Putting them in groups makes all the pages not line up, but I kind of like the way it looks. In the meantime, I'm going to start working on the cover. So the other day, I tried to make some paper out of old paper, and it's very thick. So I think I'll partially use this for the cover, but I feel like I still want it thicker, so I will be using this for extra support. This is just the back cover of the old sketchbook I got the pages from. It's actually much easier to cut these off with scissors than with a craft knife. Or my craft knife is just really dull. Either way, fun! This board is 8.5 inches long, so I'm going to cut it at the 4.25 mark, just so I have 2 even halves. So we have our 2 halves. The paper isn't big enough to cover both of the covers, so I'm gonna have to use 2 sheets of paper. Since they're different colors, I'm probably going to use a watery layer of paint over them just so they're like tinted a different color, and they match. I'm drawing around the cardboard to leave excess paper so I can fold it over the edges. After that prep, I glue the cardboard to the, well, cardboardy paper. This process involved a lot of adhesive, binder clips, and time. Due to the nature of the paper, when I bend it, sometimes it can like rip, so I'm being extra careful with that and trying to take a bit of care when doing that. The process just gets repeated for the other cover. I'm probably gonna go let these dry now because they're definitely gonna need some time. The covers are just about dry. I'm gonna use gouache to color the cover, and while it may not be the most durable thing, I don't think I'm gonna like dunk the book in water or anything, so I think it works. For this portion, I really should have known what I was getting myself into. The covers had just dried. In fact, they were actually like barely dry. And after that, the covers took an additional few hours to dry because of the paint. If there is one thing that I absolutely loathe, it is drying time. Despite all that though, I think the end result was worth it. These will definitely take quite a while to dry, so I'm probably going to place them under the gouache container so they don't dry bent. In the meantime, I am going to mark where to put the hole. Looking pretty good. Now I have to pierce through each of these holes. I don't have the special tool they use to pierce them. Instead, I used some big sewing needles. It's actually taking much longer than I thought. It's a slow go, but I am getting there. The hole punching portion is finally done. While it may not be the most even, I wish I could have recorded it, but it was literally me using a water bottle as a hammer, hammering a needle on top of a cutting mat into a piece of paper, so, yeah. Actually, wait, I take it back. I'm glad I didn't record it because it was a violent act. For the binding portion. But before that, I glued a piece of paper inside the covers. It was a bit difficult showing the actual process of sewing the pages together, mainly because the entire time it was just a bit confusing, though I did try to do my best and film to show what I was doing. A few days later, I decided I wanted to make another, so I took a look at the tutorial again. Turns out the first time I was binding the book, I was wrapping the thread around the previous thread an extra time, so it looks a bit chunky, but I mean, I guess it's extra secure. Here I am one more time trying to show the stitching in a bit more detail. After that, I attached on the other cover. It was coming along pretty nicely. Okay, so that actually took ages, but I am really proud of it. It's pretty good for a first attempt in my opinion, and what I love about it is that the pages lay flat. Of course, there are a few touch-ups to do, and the edges of the cover are kind of falling apart, partially because I didn't let the covers fully dry when I started using them, and partially because this is random homemade paper. So there are a few touch-ups to do, but other than that, it's looking pretty good. I took some Mod Podge and went ham on the sides of the covers. I made sure everything was extra secure. I cleaned up the edges with some Mod Podge, and now I just have to let that dry. If you ever end up doing this, make sure you use thick quality paper. Printer paper just isn't going to suffice for your hard work. Off camera, I added an odd looking sun on the cover with some gold gel pen and also added some gold on the edges. Other than that, I generally cleaned things up, made sure everything was nice and secure. In addition, I also added a few dots to look like stars too. I also made another one for a friend. I think the sun came out a bit better on this cover. Okay, and that's about it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!